Why have there been a spate of recent resignations from the Australia India Institute, a premier think tank? I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. We're doing a deep dive into high profile resignations from the AII and Australia India Institute, a joint collaboration between India and Australia that was meant to see the best minds from both countries collaborating. 13 scholars have resigned from their posts, alleging interference by the government in their work, including a refusal to publicize certain pieces of scholarly research. The Institute has denied the allegations and has argued that many of these scholars were due to leave anyway because their terms were coming to an end. We will bring you both sides of this conversation, and today we'll be talking to one of the scholars who decided to opt out, echoing what the others were saying about a certain kind of censorship of not just free speech, but free thought. Let's go across to Professor Kuntala Lahiri Dutt. As I said, one of the academics who have said that there wasn't a free space to research and speak as one would have wished. Thank you very much, ma'am. Can you take us through exactly what happened and when it started happening that created this disquiet among you and your colleagues?
Thank you, Barkha. To answer that question, I'll have to go back a couple of years. And in last year, I think, was it 2021? The previous director of Australia India Institute has finished his tenure at the time, and Australia has a very thriving research culture and South Asian research culture. There are plenty of academics of South Asian origin, of Indian origin, who are working in Australia. So together we keep that culture of research alive. And somehow it was decided that the selection of that new director would be consultative, and we would, as South Asian Studies Association of Australia's members, we would take a part. So quite a few of us met with two candidates who were shortlisted. And after the meetings with those two candidates, we felt that the candidates, we conveyed to the person who was interacting with us that we felt that the candidates were a little disappointed at the remit that was they were given, that they were being asked to chase funding and so on. They were under the impression that Australia India Institute would be a purely research organization and a policy oriented but research organization, and that was not what they were getting. So we can conveyed that feeling, and we were quite surprised to see that Honorable Senator Lisa Singh was appointed. She was not part of that select two people that we had met
So
with.
is this a fundamental disagreement over who is leading the institute? Because there have been other allegations that previous sort of works were not publicized, they were not kept on the website. The AII has refuted these. Some involved, violence against religious minorities in India. There was another work that was quoted by another scholar on caste, and a third still on Mahatma Gandhi. So what has been the tipping point? Was it a kind of
These are the allegations. These
yes?
are the allegations that have been leveled against Australia India Institute. The tipping point, probably, I was out of town. I was not in Canberra where I usually live, and I have been watching the way Australia India Institute has been going under the directorship of Senator Lisa Singh. And I understand that each institute is shaped by the director largely, and the director probably has the right to do that. And Australia India Institute also has the right to go whichever way it wants. But the allegations that came to my attention were really serious, and I felt that they were. When I came back to Canberra, I wasn't in the first 12. When I came back to Canberra and I uh, was briefed by one of the fellows who had left, I also decided to quit
What
Australia,
what
India.
disturbed you the most when you decided to join your voice to those who had left? What disturbed you the most? Your
Yes,
own misgivings seem to be a disagreement with the director. Could you
yes.
share what the
I
disagreement was?
thank you, thank you. I honestly I do not know about the allegations, and Ian Wolford would be a better person to talk to about that. And you probably have listened to his interviews with other experts from India.
Sure.
So it is for me the tipping point was that, look, I'm an academic, and for me as an academic, my job is to be critical, to enhance critical thinking amongst my students as well, in my research and in my students. I am from Indian origin. I don't have to say that, it is written on my face. And I work on India. I have family back there in India, and I have my love for India as well, in a different, probably a different sort of love than what is the Australia India Institute would like to have. And I am not a policy type person who would sit with government officials. I mean, government officials from India, they are highly talented, highly qualified. They have come up through the system, through highly competitive systems, but they are not necessarily researchers. We all have our own spaces, right? A research organization is the space where I belong. A university is the space where I belong. I felt that I really do not belong to a policy making
So,
institution
so,
where
so, so let,
politicians.
let, let me jump in here. You say
Yes,
that the earlier allegations made, which were essentially around issues in a way not getting free space in the way that the scholars would have liked, is not an allegation you can speak to. You were not involved in those disputes. But for you, what I'm hearing is you believe that there's too much government in of both countries involved in running the institute. Would that be a
yes,
fair surmise?
yes. Yeah, I have a feeling. I have that kind of a feeling. See, for example, the Australia-India trade deal. Australia-India trade deal is a wonderful thing to have happen, and the closer relationship between Australia and India is also a wonderful thing to have happened in the recent past, especially in the last 10 years, that the relationship has become quite thick. However, as I said, that Australia India Institute, under the directorship of the previous director, was a research organization. That's when I became an academic fellow. And now I look at Australia India Institute, and I see a governmental policy, not even a policy organization. It's not even a think tank. It's more interacting, engaging with India, and building networks. But I would say that there are still lots of academic fellows and distinguished fellows still
So
associated
basically,
with.
but basically, you're saying that instead of being a space for independent research, you believe that it's become a government to government sort of channel.
That's my impression, that it's more track one rather than a research organization, track
And
one agency.
and how do you see the other controversies that the other scholars have spoken about? I mean, you were not physically present there, but as a member of the community who chose to, in a sense, add your voice to those protests. How do you see those allegations?
These allegations are of very serious nature. If they have happened, and in the way that we hear that they have might have happened, then they are very serious. I our As academics, as I said, our job is to do research. Our job is to do objective research and not biased research. And we criticize when criticism is constructive. and we criticize when we see things that could be improved. And I think everyone should have the right to criticize everyone. And that's the India we know. That's the India
Yeah.
we know. We
Let
have
me
grown
ask
up
you,
with this India.
yeah, let me ask you in the end, therefore, who do you hold responsible for the current impasse? Is it the two governments? Is it somebody else? And how can it be fixed?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go back at the selection of the director. It's not a holding somebody responsible. The director you choose, that's what you get. The leader of current leader of
And your
Australia,
disagreement with
India.
this director is because you think she's too political?
She's a politician. She comes with that political background, and she's doing good stuff, right? I have nothing against her. As a politician, she must be a wonderfully, accomplished person. And she has a right as the director to take the institute in whatever direction she wants to take it. But as for me, I do not want to be associated with a government to government initiative. I would rather remain a researcher, keep my voice, and my ability to speak, my heart to the public and to my students as long as
Yeah.
I can.
Well, thank you for sharing your disquiet. We'll also be speaking to the other scholars who quit, as well as to the present management, we hope, of the Leadership Institute to get their perspective. Because, as you said, critical thinking and a healthy debate is what it's all about in the end. And thank you, Kuntala, very much for talking to us. And we'll have you back when we have more on this developing story. Thank you very much and
Thank
take
you
care.
very much.
Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.